So we're starting to look more at emptiness. When we encounter someone, whether we like them or don't like them, when you think about that person and you think you are thinking about the person, you are thinking about your idea about the person. Your mind cannot actually reach the other person. It reaches your idea about the person. And people are not who we think they are. In the same way, when you think about yourself, you think about your ideas about yourself, your history, your memories, your construct of who you take yourself to be. But these are just ideas arising and passing. You cannot catch another person and you cannot catch yourself. There is an otherness to the other and an otherness to yourself. And this is not theory, it's the absolute truth. It's like we look today, when you start to see that maybe you don't like someone, but they have lots of friends. Your idea about them is not the truth of them. It's your relationship with them, which is to say how they arise for you, how they are revealed to you, by you, for you. What does this mean? It means that we don't meet other people so much in thinking. We really have profound connection with people in silence. If you just sit with someone and you both look into each other's eyes, you have much more connectivity than if you talk and tell them all about your history and your story and so on. That is because we are a showing of what? Just before the break, we were looking at, we can have our so-called personal ground, I, me, myself. Let me tell you who I am. But in the moment of saying, I will tell you who I am, I'm allowing a flow of thoughts, feelings, ideas to arise and pass. And then they're gone. The ground of this is the emptiness of the mind. The empty mind flows in emptiness to the empty other. This is actually quite beautiful because it means I will never have enough of you because there is always more of you than I think you are. That is to say, our relationship to the world is non-summative. I cannot totalize you. I cannot add you up and come to a conclusion. That is my own mental arithmetic, my own mental game playing. You cannot be caught inside my thought. So now we see, as we've started to look, thought is a kind of violence in this situation. Because if I believe I have caught you, if I believe I can define you, if I believe that you are someone gettable, then I can coerce you into not being more than my thought. For example, in a culture with slaves, you can beat a slave so that they're too frightened to express themselves in any way, and they become hollowed out. That can happen in very patriarchal marriages as well, where the woman is too frightened of the man to express herself. Fear and the wish to survive cause an abandonment of the spontaneity of connectivity. This, of course, is tragic. But even when people are free to express themselves, what are they expressing? What is this self? When you look for yourself, you find a stream of arisings. When you look at the self of another, who they are not anyone, they are a becoming. There is a flow of becoming meeting another flow of becoming, as if two winds were blowing in the sky, moving together, creating patterns for a while. And it is this ungraspability which is the basis for compassion. Because if I really see this, then my desperate ego, the aspect of myself that wants to be loved or known or contained or made safe, we know these particular formative lonelinesses and longings. If I see, oh, the reason I manifest in this way is because I'm not relaxing into my own openness. If I relax into spaciousness, there is space for you to be as you are. But if I arise in my habitual formations of having this kind of personality and really being desperate to see you, and I have to talk with you, and I really miss you, it's not to discount these feelings, but one can observe directly, what do they do? I need to talk to you. I don't want to talk to anyone else, only you. Why? What is it that you have created in this person? Because they have many attributes, many aspects. They are different with different people. You have formulated a wish that they would be like that. For example, in therapy, sometimes when I used to have a summer break, the patient would come back and they would say, oh, I really miss seeing you over the summer. I had so much to tell you and so on. And then after 10 minutes, we have a very terrible session of complete misunderstanding, because the person they had been longing for was not the person who was in the room with them. So they had cooked up an idea. In English, we say absence makes the heart grow fonder. So it operates in that way. The actuality of people is changing, and so they are ungraspable. I think this is something very important. So gaining and losing, which are very powerful forces in our world, whether it's gaining people or money or countries or promotion, these all start from the proposition there is something to get. There is a commodification of life. But actually what we have is an experience. Say you buy a very beautiful diamond. It's a wonderful diamond. You spend 100,000 euros on it. Now you have something which can be lost and stolen. You don't want to lose it and steal it. So you bought the diamond because you appreciated it, and now it's something you can worry about. You have to check you have the right insurance. If you wear it around your neck, is the chain strong enough? If you're going out on the street, should you put it in your pocket or your bag? You're now in a relation to it as a thing. Before it was just this radiant beauty that captivated you. If you're rich and you buy a beautiful painting, then the fact that you have bought it is not unknown in the art world. If you buy a Cézanne, people can work out where you live and they can come and try and steal it. So you spend a lot of money on your security cameras and so on. Possession is a dangerous thing. As the old anarchist slogan is, property is theft. It's theft from the common weal. Now we live in a capitalist culture, so we all have property. We all own something. But it's a form of violence. Violence means not sharing. There are still a few cultures left in the world where people share, the hunter-gatherer communities. People don't have very much private possessions. Many of these people are naked. They walk around. They don't need any shoes. Feet are very good for the local territory. They might have a spear or a throwing stick. They might have a little leather bag to carry something, but not very much. We take a lot from the world and we call it mine, and then it is mine, and you mustn't take it because it's mine. So this is how we can see emptiness, that we are grasping at phenomena, but what we get is the idea. We get our frame whereby we can take hold of it. That is to say, in relative truth, we operate in a frame of reference, a frame of reference of liking, not liking, mine, yours, good, bad, and so on. So I take up a position. I am here. I am like this. I have my history, my interests, my aesthetic sensibility. And so some things are very important for me and other things are not. This is because I am situated. In absolute truth, what we have is emergence in space as the radiance of space, like a ray of sunlight spreading out. We are emergent, not fixed. As soon as you become fixed, you stand vis-a-vis something else. You stand in relation to it, above it, below it, to the left, to the right, owning it, subjugated by it, and so on. So you can see duality means always a positioning of this and that. Non-duality is participation in the field of emergence as emergence. So it's not that you become homogenized into nothing at all. You are here, but here as part of the field. Part of the field. So you're always moving with the environment. This is like the dependent origination we looked at earlier. Everything is empty of what we think they are. So we want to know what emptiness is. It means not filled by me. If you look around your room, you can tell a story about everything you have. You go for a walk, you can talk about the architecture, the street, the amount of rubbish on the street, the trees, the park, how the children play. We can blather on and talk about everything. Commentary, commentary, commentary. Our world is commentary on something we take to be real. But actually, if we see that our words don't reach the actual phenomena, that phenomena are fresh, clear, bright, then what we're doing is we're making a haze. So in the Dzogchen texts, it's often talking about clarity of the mind. It means the mind as it reveals itself, rather than the mind's experience covered by its own thoughts. So a simple thing that some of you know is you can just go into your bathroom and look in the mirror and then breathe out onto the mirror. Now the mirror is covered with your breath. It's hazy. And then gradually it evaporates and the mirror is clear again. So this is what we do. We are spraying out our thoughts, our concepts over the world. Now we understand with the virus, breathing out is very dangerous. Maybe you're putting the virus into the world, but you've always done this. You've done the virus of ignorance. You've infected the whole bloody planet. So not breathing out so much. Little humble breath. No. Then you can start to receive. Now, receiving is the in-breath. Oh. I am being filled with what is, rather than I am telling the world what it is. That's the essential point of emptiness, that there is no space for revelation if we are already running the master narrative, if we are interpreting and projecting, and so on. So allowing the emptiness of phenomena is very, very important. And in many ways, nature is our best friend, because the ungraspability of nature is, for most of us, easier than the ungraspability of culture. So you go out, you see the wind blowing about, the leaves moving. What could you say? There's so much complexity. A tree with maybe 100,000 leaves, the wind is blowing, the leaves are going at different speeds depending on how firmly they're attached and so on. This is an inconceivable complexity which you receive all at once. You get the whole thing as reception, and you only get a little bit of it if you try to work it out. In that moment, you can see, oh, my mental activity is robbing me of the whole. It's only when I relax and allow the sound of the wind in my ears, the feel of the wind on my face, the sight of everything moving, and it's all at once, all at once. But if I try to break it down to make sense of it and organize it, I get less and less and less. Now, in various cultures, for example, Japanese culture, these ideas of Buddhism came into art quite strongly, and there's a whole tradition of spontaneous mark making or spontaneous painting, usually with a biggish brush and some black ink, and in particular drawing circles. So people draw circle after circle after circle, and then there is one circle which is, oh, we have to keep this. Maybe we put it as a scroll and hang it on the wall. Of course, what you should do is burn it. In autumn, the wind comes and blows the leaves off the trees. That's very kind. But we have exhibitions and we have museums and rich people's showing rooms where these wonderful treasures of traditional Japanese art are on display. They are special. They are really important. What are they? Invested with ideas. When you look at that painting, what you see is the beliefs of hundreds of thousands of people who say, this is the best, this is the best, this is the best. Now, do all these thoughts make it the best? That is a conventional relative truth agreement. If you see the circle, it's just that, just that. What would you do with it? I want to see it again, but every time you see it, it's different. That's why culture is more difficult, because culture gives you something to buy and to take home, whereas the tree doesn't give you anything. It gives you some leaves and some wood to burn in the fire, but it is self-dissolving. Everything in nature is self-dissolving. We alone, through our fabrication, believe that the artificial is the true natural. The person, the great artist who manages to draw this wonderful circle, has done it a few times in the past. We say this is intuitive and spontaneous, but hang on a minute, there's a wee bit of rehearsal going on here. He's already done 1,000, 100,000. So let's not get stupid. Oh, the master of haiku. Was that the first haiku ever written? Oh, polished spontaneity. The trees don't do that. Bushes don't do that. They're a little bit more honest. So maybe you start to get the sense of emptiness when we see the juxtaposition, the placing together, the functioning together of pulses of phenomena, generating what we take to be a room or a teacup or a carpet or a person walking down the street. This is a composition. Just as a painter has their frame of their canvas and they compose their setting inside it, we compose our notion of what is there. Intentionality, artificiality. It's not there by itself. So, all compounded things are impermanent. Whatever structure of interpretation you have, it doesn't last. You go to see a play and you have some idea about it. If you go and see it again, you will have a different idea because every time it's going to be different. You read a novel again, you see something different in the story. As Heraclitus said, you can never step in the same river twice. Each time you meet a person, this is a new meeting. Do you allow it to be a new meeting? No, because you think you know the person. You know about the person, and your aboutness towards the person blocks the revelation of how they are in this moment. This is just such a basic point of freedom or limitation. And we often believe that limitation is freedom, which is tragic. We cannot know other people. We can be with them, we can be open and receive, but we can't know. Know is always knowing about our idea of the person, our image of the person, and so on. Revelation is always now, in this moment. It's not in the past, not in the future. It's simply in this moment and vanishing. And this is the emptiness of the situation, because phenomena cannot be grasped as something, they cannot be nailed down, which means they have a potential for manifesting, which is revealed in the changing relation between what we take to be the object and the context. So, traditionally, if people were building an art studio, they would want to have most of the glass on the north side because you get more stable light. If you have the windows facing in the south, then especially in the, you have the movement of the sun from the east across to the west. And if you're trying to draw the same thing you have in front of us, like bowls or vases or something, as the light moves around, the shadow is going to change, and that will be annoying. So you want the light to be more stable coming from the north. Even so, there's going to be changes in the day, because the object revealed is the object illuminated. If you put all the lights off, it would be stable, but you wouldn't see it. So you put the light on, and the light changes because of natural light. Even if you put on neon light has a flicker, and more than that, you get tired. So how you see it, as your eyes get tired, the muscles in the eye change slightly, and so how it's revealed shifts. That is to say, it's always dynamic and interactive. You never get the thing itself. There is no thing itself. You get the thing as it appears to be. This is the potential of emptiness. Because everything is ungraspable, there is no end to the showing of the potential of emptiness. Empty of self means you can't put it in a box. There is this, but this is part of the permutation of the field. So for example, if I just sit back a little bit, I look down on my table, I've got 2 cups, I've got pens and papers and some books and so on. So there's a lot. Now I can start to move these things around as if I was making a kind of collage. There'd be lots of colors, endless permutations of these few items. When you look at the paintings of, say, Morandi, who spent his whole life, with 3 pots and a tin can, endlessly painting again and again and again, these possibilities, is incredible. It's beyond belief. Each time it's new. Each time it's this. So there is no limitation to the permutations of the empty potential of phenomena. Where we do become limited is where we project our idea onto what is arising and take it to be something real. So the limit of my existence is my thought interpretation. I am my own jailer. I put myself in the prison of my limited concepts. Phenomena don't do that. I do that. Which is why when we're thinking about Mahamudra or Dzogchen, we're always starting with the sky. The sky has no reference point. When you look out, if it's a clear blue day, you can't say where is the center of the sky. Any point could be the center of the sky. The sky is not orchestrated around reference points. It is emergent. So something catches your eye, maybe a bird suddenly flies across the sky and you're tracking the bird. And it's as if as the bird is moving, the space of the sky is revealed around it. And then the bird is gone and it's just open sky. Movement in the sky. In the same way, our thoughts are emerging in the space of the mind. If you observe the thought, it is the showing of the capacity of the mind. It is the clarity of the mind. In Tibetan, they call it salwa. Salwa means like illumination or brightness or luminosity. This can be in the form of clear light or the light of the 5 colors, which is to say, when the light goes through a crystal, the rainbow formation shines out. These colors are the potential of white light, hidden, as it were, in white light. So when the white light or clear light hits the crystal, suddenly the potential of the clear light is revealed as the color. This is the same as our situation. Everything is empty, but as you enter into the world, how you participate reveals this pattern of coloration for yourself. Some people have a great sensitivity to architecture. So if they walk down the street, they're looking at the window frames, they're looking at whether the tiles are original or not, they're seeing particular importance in these shapes. Other people are fixated on the pavement. Is it clean or dirty? How would it be for a blind person? And so on. They have a more of a kind of social crystal, if you like. Everybody's got some kind of crystalline formation through which they participate in the world, so that particular features or potential are manifest through them. None of these is right or wrong or good or bad, because essentially it's all empty. If you're interested in cars, you're going to pay a lot of attention to cars in the street. If, like me, you're not interested in cars, they're just something that get in the way and they're a bit dangerous. So these are like, if each of us is a crystal, crystals have little formations of color in them, or little fractures. You could see these as an impurity or an impediment or something wrong with the crystal. But what it does is it brings more coloration into the revelation of the light coming out. And in fact, of course, when you have little fragmentations inside the crystal, when the light hits that, the 5 colors are inside the crystal as well as coming out of it. It's not just refracted, but it's present in the crystal. This is how we are. We have our personality. This is the coloration that seems to ring true for us. Some people are more angry, some people are more desireful, some people more proud. Each of these is a coloration. If you see, the ground of this manifesting is empty, just like the sky. So sometimes rainbows come in the sky, sometimes clouds, sometimes storms, arising and then vanishing. The same with us. Some stages in our life, we might have been confident. Some people experience that when they're in their early 20s, they go out, they go to parties, they make all kinds of adventures. By the time they're in their late 30s, they're a little bit more wary and scared and insecure. They're thinking, how is this? I now have experience of life. Surely I should have more confidence. But in fact, they become more hesitant, more tentative. This is the patterning of how this has arisen. For another person, they were maybe very shy in their late teens, early 20s. They didn't go to parties. They didn't want to see people. But now in their 30s, they feel more confident and so on. So they go out more. You cannot know in advance how life is going to unfold through this particular patterning. We are unknowable in that sense. And this unknowability is our freedom, the freedom to manifest. So empty means empty of truly existing defining factors. When we say my nature is empty, it means I am not limited by anything. However, I don't live with my emptiness. I live with my fullness. That is to say, I ceaselessly, if you're an ordinary person, you're ceaselessly modifying your personality, your postures, gestures, tone of voice, and so on, according to situations. And the key point is this: when this adjustment is done from the position of I, me, myself, my ego self, then in a situation, I want you to like me, so I will try to work out how I need to be in order to be liked by you. So you can see this is artificial. This is a management of the presentation of self in order to optimize social gain, which is, again, not uncommon. People who work in public relations departments, advertising, that's how they earn their money. But we also do it. And often not for much reward, because the end result is that I remain imprisoned inside my sense of self. So emptiness is saying, there is a false ground here. This is like this third level of ignorance we looked at, the ignorance of naming. Because I tell myself what I am like, not how I am, which is unfolding, but what I am, which is reifying, solidifying. Because I am like this, there are many options which are close to me. I wouldn't do that. You do it, I see you do it. You don't get arrested. You don't get put in jail. I couldn't do it. Why? Because I'm me. This is so fascinating. This is so fascinating. If I did that, I believe I would be put in jail, but that very belief puts me in jail. It imprisons me in my own limited perception. This is very tragic. So, this is a thought which is arising in me. The thought seems real because this is how my mother spoke to me. She said, come on, you can't do that. You can't do that. No, you mustn't do that. You'll upset the neighbors. No, you mustn't. Many, many messages we all received, whether from parents or school teachers or grandparents. Don't do that. You must do this. And therefore, there is an overinvestment in this idea as being a vehicle of truth. So a rainbow arises in the sky due to causes and conditions. What is it? It's just a rainbow. Now, a thought arises in the mind. What is it? It's just a thought. No, this thought is telling me the truth about how I have to be. I can't do that. I mustn't do that. I shouldn't do that. So the empty thought has somehow been injected with a coloration, a kind of Botox of solidification of carrying this message, which is a prohibition, or it could be a freedom. The lightness of the thought comes and goes, it arises by itself, it vanishes by itself. But now it's been imprisoned in its task of informing me of the limit and the shape of my world. I have to be tidy. I have to be clean. I shouldn't cause trouble for other people. I should be thoughtful about other people. These are not bad thoughts to have, but you can see how they operate inside people to direct their performance. So if we feel anxious about what other people think of us, with a thought, I mustn't upset them. If I am with even 5 people, that's 5 varieties of thought. And each of these people have their own history. So they can think about me in many, many different ways, but I mustn't upset them. This is a terrible task. How can I do this? We say, you can please some of the people some of the time, but you can't please all the people all the time. You can't get it right. If my job is to make everyone happy, sometimes it's not going to be successful. But if I don't make people happy, they'll be unhappy, and they'll be unhappy with me, and I can't bear that. I don't want to be criticized. I don't want to be criticized. This is a very normal discourse in therapy, because a lot of fear is put into people that your criticism of me is the truth, and your criticism will annihilate me. It will kill me, because you will have taken this dagger of truth and stuck it through my heart. Oh, James, how could you do that? You're terrible. So, oh my God, what can I do now? So we feel fixed. So we can observe this for ourselves. as you sit in meditation, you get more experience of the repertoire, the range of limiting thoughts which arise for you. In the practice of Tantra, we have this way of killing the killer. So, especially with Vajrakilaya practice with Dorji Purva, we have this special dagger, and you can create an image of the demon, which is your own critical voice, your own limiting factor, and then you stick this dagger right in the middle of the demon and nail them down. You can't move. Don't move. So this is an external symbolization of what we have to do for these thoughts. It's not that the thought shouldn't move, it's that we shouldn't move with the thought. A thought arises in my mind. Oh, I wish I hadn't done that. Some regret comes. I have to marry the thought. I have to give myself to the thought and believe in it in order for the thought to be real. Otherwise, it's just a thought that's coming and going. It's just coming and going. But I believe in the thought. I believe the thought is telling the truth about me. I now feel bad. I feel I have to do something. This is all due to merging my luminous potential into the thought as if the thought could tell me the truth about me. Now, if we go back to this wonderful pre-Socratic Heraclitus, you can never step in the same river twice because the water is always flowing. So your mind, as a metaphor, is like a river flowing, experience after experience after experience. Oh, James, you fucked up. You shouldn't have done that. Now I'm stabbing James. But where am I stabbing? Where is this James I'm stabbing? You shouldn't have done it. Oh, why did you do it? I did it. It's gone. Now James, who did the bad thing, is now the murderous stabber. I've gone from being a horrible person to a murderer. God, this is worse. This is terrible. What am I going to do? Now I become, oh, this is silly. Now I'm a silly person. Now I'm a this. Now the river is flowing. You can't go back. It's already gone. It's already gone. Stay in the present moment. These things happen. That doesn't mean letting yourself off the hook. Not that we should be hooked, but it means it is gone. Actually, truthfully, honestly, it has gone. When you follow a negative thought and feel you have to make purification, this is because a thought is chasing a thought. The thought is not the problem. For example, if somebody who has been smoking for a long time stops, and 2-3 months later, they have some difficulty in their life and they feel terrible and think, oh, I need a cigarette. I don't care. I just need a cigarette. What is that? Many people we know relapse. They find it difficult to stop smoking. A thought has arisen, infused with some energy from the sensation and the feeling tones that are around. I need a cigarette. It's a thought. Arises in the mind and it's gone. But if you merge in the thought, then you get up, you go to the shops, you buy some cigarettes, you light the cigarette, and now you're smoking. Did the cigarette make you smoke? No. Did the thought of smoking make you smoke? No. What locked you in the prison of smoking was your belief that the thought, I need a cigarette, was telling you the truth. Don't blame the object. There's nothing out there in the world that is a real demon. It is when we believe in the validity or the meaning of these structures. So, for the meditation practice, in both Mahamudra and Dzogchen, mainly we're just sitting. We're not intending to do anything. Sometimes it's structured in 4 stages through 1 taste and so on. But these formal structures are not so important. The key point is always like a mirror, allowing reflections to come and go, without taking up a position of reactivity. The lucidity of the mind, our own awareness, can just allow all different kinds of thoughts and feelings and sensations to arise. When you enter into judgment, when you say, I don't want my mind to be like this, when you say, this is intolerable for me, I have to do something, either to promote it more or to do less, the one who is doing this is not unborn awareness. This is not Rigpa. This is consciousness, Nampashepa. That is to say, it's the diminished, restricted form of your mental clarity which fixates on something. So you're sitting in the meditation, you're quite relaxed, different things are going on, and suddenly you riff off into some daydream or some speculation or some plan about what you're going to do next week. You've merged into this movement of the mind. Who is there? Who got lost? There was an object side arising and a subject side arising, and the subject merges with the object. And so there is movement. Why? Because subject is movement and object is movement. Awareness, like the mirror, is not moving. Reflections move in the mirror. So this is why we observe ourselves, like maybe through Vipassana practice, and you see everything which I take myself to be, every conclusion or summary I have about myself is a commentary on a flow. I am this river, subjectivity is flowing, object side is flowing. In fact, it's one unified river or display or unfolding, and sometimes it looks subject, sometimes it looks object. And when I relax, I'm aware of object side pulsation, subject side pulsation. So you can be aware that, as it were, I am thinking about this, where I am is the naming quality of the subject side emergence. I am is not a truth about me, where I am this person born in Scotland doing this and doing that. I is open awareness. I am, it's starting to thicken. I am Scottish. Now we're plugged into my history and this and that. And this I am Scottish is the abandonment of I. I. What was I? You just say I. You try it for yourself. I. It's very light, very open. It could be anything. Exactly. Because it's empty. I am now is thickening. I am Scottish. Now I'm positioned in the world. Means I'm not Polish. I don't speak Yiddish. There's many, many things that come with being Scottish. So it's a delimitation. I'm now positioned in the world as someone Scottish. I is not positioned anywhere. I is the site of emergence. So hopefully you get the sense of this. I is like the mirror. I am Scottish is the reflection. The reflection is in the mirror. You can't take a reflection out of the mirror, but the reflection is not the same as the mirror. I, indeterminate, unborn, empty, and yet full of potential. I, stumm, silent. I am Scottish. As soon as the filling of the I arises, does it catch the I? Is the subject caught I am Scottish, only if you believe that what is arising is able to define I. And you have to look at your mind a lot for this to make sense. Otherwise, it's just blah, blah of words. So hopefully you do look at your mind. The ego self is fat I. I itself is very, very thin. So I is like anorexic, and ego self is bulimic. Bulimic self wants to be thin, but it wants to eat a lot. So eat a lot, vomit a lot, eat a lot, vomit a lot. It's a lot of work to be the ego. You fill yourself up, you empty yourself out. I is natural born anorexic. Would you like some food? No, you look very thin. Yeah, I've always been thin. I'm like the sky. We don't carry much weight when you're the sky. Come on, put on a few pounds, have a cloud, eat a cloud. No, I'm happy as clear blue sky. This is open eye. But the ego is always hungry, it's consuming. So thoughts comes, feelings come and say, this is me, this is me, this is me. Now, you don't need to do that because the content is already in the mirror. The reflection is in the mirror. You don't have to grasp what's already in you. And it's going to go anywhere. So this is clarity. Clarity is the revelation of experience as it vanishes. When we don't see this, we grasp at it and we try to do something about it. Especially we enter judgment. I shouldn't be like this. I should try harder. Why don't I do that? And we endlessly try to manipulate ourselves into different patterns. I is empty. I is the sky. I am is thickening. You observe this for yourself. I'm tired, I'm thirsty, I need to go to the toilet. You're filling up. And when it's just I, it's not conditioned. The unconditioned. In the text, you'll see a lot of discussion about conditioned and unconditioned. In the 5 skandhas, the fourth one is conditioning. It's duche. Du means to gather together and che means to make. So it's making a composite. I am hungry could be a composite. It could be that I really identify with this. So I need to think about food a lot, to go to the shops, what the recipe could be, and I become preoccupied with thinking about food. Many people are. So I am composing myself, constellating myself around this definition or this feeling tone of myself. Or when I'm hungry, I eat. When I'm tired, I sleep. This is the definition of a yogi. When you are tired, you sleep. When you're hungry, you eat. When you want to sit, you sit. When you want to walk, you walk. Just as simple as that. Who is eating? Hunger is eating, not psychological hunger, not binge eating. I'm hungry, you eat. Are you satisfied? Yes, you stop eating. Beginning, middle, end is very simple. When you finished eating, you finished eating. You don't think about food anymore. Oh, that was so good. That was delicious. How do you cook that? What's the recipe? Oh, ottolenghi, amazing. Yes, I must try that. On and on and on, building up pictures. So it's very, very important to see this as you are now. If you stay with this fresh, open moment, it's empty. You can, especially nature is useful. You go to the sea or in the mountains, just everything is there. Not even, because if you say, I see that, I hear that, you're moving into the specificity. And until I is clearly empty and open, the specificity is a problem because the I hides in the specificity. But when the I is clearly open like the mirror, the specificity is the radiance of the openness. So I am tired, I'm hungry, I'm enthusiastic, I love walking in this park. Each of these is the clarity of the mind displaying itself. Whereas if you grasp it, it becomes heavy. Now, these two are very close together. Samsara and nirvana are born together. They're not two different countries. You're not having to go from here to there. They're very close. So you go and you stand in front of the mirror and you look. What do you see? Oh, I see myself. Oh, you see a reflection of yourself. If you see a reflection of yourself, the reflection is in the mirror. But when you just look first, oh, it's me. It is as if I am in the mirror. So I have put myself into the mirror. Oh, this is what I do with thoughts. I put my emotional and intellectual, cognitive identification into the object, my thought. The thought comes. You don't have to stop having thoughts. In this practice of Mahamudra and Dzogchen, nothing is forbidden. You can live however you want to live. Some people eat a lot, some people drink a lot of alcohol, some people are always working, some people want to have lots of sex. There are many, many ways that people live. The performative aspect of energy is not the question, as long as you see it arises and passes. It arises and passes. As soon as you lock into it, it starts to leave a trace. This goes back to what we looked at in the morning, these 4 aspects of karma. The basis for karma is the duality which arises from reification, solidification. I am real, you are real. What goes on between us is real. I really like talking with you. I think you're a really good person. So you are becoming more real for me as I put my positive projections into you. The transaction of speaking and listening is pleasant, and it's making me feel good. Now, these are called the 3 wheels, subject, object, and the connection. And when they turn and move together, this is the momentum of samsara. The problem is in the grasping. I like you. You appear for me, and I like. The liking is transient. I'm not, maybe I'm going to fall in love so much, like a kind of love-lost swain. I don't eat anymore. I can't sleep. I wander around. Ho, ho, ho. Maybe not. I'm too old for that. So I like you for a while, under certain circumstances. But I also want to read my book. I love you, but I want to read my book. Come on, let me read my book, please. I love you. No, I do love you, but let me read my book. Loving you is interesting, but the book at the moment, that's like that. This is life is like that. Opening, filling, emptying, opening, filling, emptying. This is I. But when you get angry, say, no, I'm ready to read my book. Why do you always do this? Now it gets very solid. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to shout at you, but you know I like to read the book. Oh, that becomes very difficult. Always keep it light. I am filling and showing a dissolving. I, a space, am filling manifestation, which is showing and dissolving ceaselessly, on and on and on, like the waves in the sea, on and on. It is the grasping and the construction of this fantasy of an individual self which locks us in. Okay, so maybe we do just a little bit of sitting for 5 minutes or so. Very easy, very relaxed. We sit with the spine supporting our weight. Usually we do it with the gaze is open, and whatever comes, comes, whether it seems to be outside or inside, not blocking, not interfering, just present as I is this presence, awareness, and let everything else flow through. Okay. Well, as many of you know, when we do this practice, we do it just for very short periods of time because we don't want to be struggling or making effort or trying. We relax into the intrinsic openness and work with that. But of course, what we find is that the thickening of our presence into the ego happens very easily. So if you thought of clear water flowing down in the mountains, the river is very, very fresh, and then it comes down into the valley and it's quite strong, maybe springtime, melting ice water. And as it rubs on the banks of the river, the earth comes in and it starts to get muddy and it becomes opaque. So this is what happens when our awareness, it's impossible really to say this accurately in language, but it is as if awareness manifests as ego intelligence. The awareness stays clear whatever is happening, but it looks unclear because when you have a muddy river, the mud is a colloid. That is to say, the mud is held in a suspension in the water. If you take it out and you leave it long enough, the mud will gradually sink down and the water will be clear again. While the mud is in fine suspension in the river is opaque and you can't see through it. So this is like ego formation. The ego formation is when there is an overinvestment of identification and memory and feeling, and it becomes so strongly real. The mind is thickening itself. So in the Mahamudra tradition, they say that samsara is excess, that the mind itself is very simple and open, but there is an excess of the effulgence or the energy or the display, and so it thickens. And this thickness is what we're in. There's nothing wrong. There's not some bad thing that has happened, but it will thin if we don't attach to the thick. Now, when you encounter something that seems very special or very good or very important for you, there's an excitement that goes with that. I like this. Oh, wow, I've been looking at this for a long time. I used to spend a lot of time in secondhand bookshops because I was very interested in certain old philosophy books and certain kinds of novels and so on. And so you have to scan across thousands and thousands of books, and then you maybe or maybe not find something really interesting. These are old books. People could buy these books, but I'm not buying them because this is the one I want. So when I would find the book that was singing to me, it would thicken. I must have it. I must have it. And probably you know this feeling for yourself. The connection with the item is thickening into a necessity. It becomes, it's not something that you really have a choice. I just have to buy it. It's really important. No, this is really good. And you can feel your life energy coming more strongly into an amalgam, a unification with the object. So this is how the ego thickens. Actually, it's a space simply of recognition. Wow, this is an interesting book. I've been looking for this book for a long time. That's all. Could let it go. Great that they still have that. I mean, nice that they still sell it. But I want it. So the I want, the grasping, in Tibetan they call it dagzin. This is something I can hold on to. It's the jinpa, the apprehending, the taking hold that thickens it. Now, here's something very simple you can do. If you put your hand out in front of you and you wiggle your fingers, You have a hand which is quite kind of open and thin. Now put it into a grasping, holding position, and you feel the muscles tightening, the sinews tightening, the tendons in your wrist. Now you have something thickened. Now you take hold of something. It's like that. You are trapped by your apprehension. Then you release your fingers. They move around. They can do anything. Your hands can do 1,000 things, but your grasp, what can it do? Like an animal's claw. It's just for scratching and holding. So this is what happens. The potential of I locks on to this. It's the same energy, but when the grasping is being enacted, it is as if it's very different. You can observe this for yourself. It's not something esoteric. I'm not telling you something about yourself you could never know. You can see what it's like to get fixated, whether it's on a person or a movie or whatever it would be. And there's, of course, there's a frustration nowadays where people can, through the internet, locate things quite easily. That's very different. In my experience, if I didn't catch something, it was gone. And so I still remember things that, oh, I wish I had, or maybe I could. And that longing also tells me something, that that object, which is now unavailable to me, has a bit of me in it. I am not at peace. So this is, for many people, the story of their love affairs. You fall in love with someone, you give yourself to them, then it doesn't work out too well, and you break up, which sounds pretty violent. You break up, and you leave a little bit of you in them. And so how can you be complete? And many people, after years, they find themselves spread out, attenuated out into their projections with people. And they can't come back to the simplicity, the wholeness of themselves. Every time I think of them, I start to cry. I don't know what happened. I don't know why it went so wrong. Wow. They gave you a hard time, and now you give yourself a hard time, wondering why you couldn't have had a good time from someone who gave you a bad time. You don't want to accept that they were not good for you. No, they were lovely, but not good for you. No, but they were lovely. Yeah, but you were allergic to them. Allergies are difficult to comprehend. Some children can eat peanuts. You can't eat peanuts. But why? Because you have an allergy. You were allergic to Bob. That's why you had a hard time. Bob's lovely. Yes, he's lovely for people who are not allergic to Bob. It's not so complicated. So, but this is what we find, that we are somehow fixated into something, merged into the other, so that when we separate, we seem to lose bits of ourselves. This is because there is a reification. I am someone. I give myself to you. I give you my heart. Wow. Okay, you want to do that? That's fine. I'll put it in the fridge. What will I do with it? I'm giving you me. I'm giving you me. Okay, that sounds very romantic, in the right mood, but it's strange. Actually, you can't. You're here and feelings are moving. The feelings are moving. The thing about feelings is they dissolve. They arise and dissolve. They arise and sensation arises and dissolves. You haven't given anything to the other person. But when you have an over-concretized, over-solidified vision of yourself, then it is as if a part of yourself is now located in them. So, when we do a general Buddhist practice, or when we do Vajrasattva practice, Dojjisemba, in order to purify ourselves. Vajrasattva means, Vajra means indestructible, Sattva indicates being. He is the indestructible being, means not fragmented. Dojjisemba does not give his part to anyone. He's complete in himself. And when you do Vajrasattva practice, he makes you complete in yourself. Why? Because he can remind you, you have always been complete from the very beginning. These defilements or difficulties are contingent. It was just an unhappy love story. Get over it. No, but I love him. I love him. What is it you love? Him. So if he was so lovable, why is he not here? I don't know. What is this? This is the mind projected out into the object. You have given up part of yourself to locate it somewhere else. Like in all over Britain, you can see these war memorials. People laying down their life for their country. They die for Queen and country. Why? Why would you die for the Queen? She lives in a palace. She got so much money. She's protected by guards. She certainly doesn't need me to die for her. Why would you do that? Well, I'm dying for my country. What, for the trees, the rivers, the rocks? What the hell do you want to die for? Did any rock ever shout at you, you must die for me? If so, go to and see a psychiatrist. You are psychotic. Trees and stones don't say that. What is you to die for your country? You're dying for stupid politicians who don't know how to bring down war drums. That's what you're dying for. You're dying for people's stupidity. Oh, let's invade Vietnam. Great idea. The French just fucked up. Dien Bien Phu, they all got kicked in the ass. We'll go back. We can do it better. Iraq. Oh, Afghanistan. Hey, the British lost 3 wars in Afghanistan. Well, this time we'll do it different. Now, Taliban is back. Don't ever die for your country, please. It's a waste of time. But this is, in these moments, you can see this is the nature of projection. The soldier puts on the uniform. They are dedicated. They have given themselves. Why? At least the nuns and monks give themselves to God in the Catholic tradition. That's much less dangerous for other people than giving yourself to your country. But we need to see this. This is a shadow of the human condition. To imagine that over-investing an object with importance is somehow increasing its value. All you're doing is depleting yourself. From the very beginning, the mind is like the sky. As it says in the Mahamudra text, does the sky have a top and a bottom? Does the sky have a center and an edge? Sky into pieces so everybody gets a piece of the sky? It's not like that. This is your mind, which is in terms of I, in terms of your own sensations, longings, hopes, and fears. You can embed your hopes and fears in other people. So you have to know the difference between awareness, which is unborn, and consciousness, which is born. Consciousness comes into existence with its object. So if you're sitting in the room and the window is open, suddenly some smell comes in the window. Oh, what's that? What's that? Before your nose sensory consciousness was sleeping, because it needs an object to waken it up. The smell comes in, and this olfactory touch with proprioception, the same with the eyes, the ears, the object and the subject arise together. Consciousness takes an object. It relies on an object. Awareness doesn't. Awareness is unborn, infinite lucidity. And the only way, you can listen to this kind of thing again and again, but the only way to find it is you sit, and whenever you tumble into involvement, oh, this is consciousness. Then you relax and you're out of it. The Tibetan word for consciousness is nampashepa. It means knowing formations, it means knowing stuff. The basis of this is knowing. Knowing is like a head of Janus or a coin. It has two sides. You can know, just knowing, or you can know something. Knowing something is consciousness, which is our mental experience of being in the world with others. And just knowing is pure open awareness like the sky. They are not intrinsically different, but functionally, if you are embedded in dualistic consciousness, you have a very different experience. So again and again, we sit, experience arises. Sometimes we're caught up in it. Oh, consciousness. If that happens, relax into the out breath. Don't think about what just happened and be present again for a while. And then again, you do it. Better to do a series of short sittings, 5 minutes, have a stretch for 2 or 3 minutes, sit again, stretch, move around, sit again. Don't push, don't try, because it is intrinsic. Consciousness is an activity, awareness is not an activity. So when you're trying hard, you're involved in consciousness. If you're doing a tantric practice and you're visualizing and doing mantras and making tormas, this is dualistic consciousness. It is not awareness. Awareness doesn't do anything. So if you're clear about that division, then you have a little template for settling in the practice again and again. I don't want to get anywhere. I don't want to get anything. Here, I, open, empty. Okay, now time for tea. For half an hour, we have a break, and then we're back for the final session.